How's it going, Case?
There are too many eggs.
Sure there are, buddy. Alright, you got a minute?
Yep.
Good. So, your preliminary tests are back, and I don't know what's happening to you, but it's definitely not supposed to be happening, so we have a couple of options here. One, we can either just let it keep happening and see what it does, which I think would be fun, but probably isn't very safe. Or, if you prefer, I could take a plant biopsy, an herbopsy, and run a couple more tests on that and see if we can actually make sense of this, which might work a little better.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's probably smarter. So I can just take that sample right now. Now the only cutting implement I have is a magnetically contained plasma blade. So maybe hold still and just try not to catch on fire. All right? Okay. 3, 2, and we're done. That didn't hurt, right? Come on. What did I just say? All right, let's run the full sensor suite on this from least to most invasive, and this time lock the door before you start the microwave scan. I'll be over here.
Initializing magnetic resonance scan. Scan sequence complete. Initializing infrared scan. Scan sequence complete. Initializing ultraviolet scan. Scan sequence complete. Initializing electron tunneling scan. Scan sequence complete.
Yeah, this is starting to feel right. This is starting to feel right.
Oh, pick that up.
Hi.
I'll be honest, I thought that was Llama's Ender Pearl, so I'm sorry.
Don't worry, Casey and I have our state-of-the-art Ender Pearl farm. These things are dime a dozen. Come get me, stupid.
Oh,
How is Ender Pearl
that's
farm
what
working?
I've been meaning to do.
Make
Yeah,
something better than our
it's
state-of-the-art
working.
Ender Pearl farm, please. Please. It's really not good. I was lying before.
I knew it was.
It's just boats. Okay, couple of quick updates. One, the hole is making progress. This one is almost done. This one is about halfway down, I want to say. And the central column, if I could see it, is at bedrock. So yeah, this is going to be done in probably an hour or two because it gets slow as it approaches bedrock. But whatever, that's all fine. The roads are going in. We have pretty much just this one. These two don't go anywhere, but they're there, and then this is going to be stairs. And don't look at that. This cliff has not changed. So this now takes this turn. I have not done a whole lot with this building, but I'm working on it. The interior is still quite bad, and this needs to be different. Let's talk about this. This is what is called I'll just pick it up. This is a phantasmal brazier. This is one of the relic items, or the artifacts, whatever I ended up calling them. And when you light it, it's fairly straightforward. All it does is it just prevents you from getting the insomnia effect that spawns phantoms within, I think 16 blocks is the default radius, and then if you put candles around it, it'll extend that out to like, I think 48 in every direction now. So I can stand anywhere in this area and not have to worry about phantoms, basically. The sugarcane farm. I have changed a little bit from my initial design that you may have seen in the time lapse. One, it actually has storage down here. This is obsolete and needs to be moved. But originally, I had hoppers under the sugarcane, and this was presenting a couple of problems. One was that sometimes when the piston went off, I had trapdoors here covering the sugarcane to keep it from going too far. But sometimes when the piston went off, it would just push straight through the trapdoor somehow, and it was getting stuck and wasn't going in the hopper. So that was one problem. The other one was that it meant that I couldn't put these windows here because sugarcane could get stuck here and it wouldn't go in the hopper, which I also didn't like because I want to be able to actually look outside and see how the sugarcane is growing. So I swapped that out. I took out all the trapdoors, and now it's just these different levels, and those get broken and they go into the gravity urn like that. Fairly straightforward. That pipes down, that goes into this little machine here, and that will eventually turn into paper. This is just a basic crafter setup. The other problem I had, I originally, because I have so much mud, had mud under here. But I was noticing that an item, because mud is like 15/16ths of a block, right? If an item hit the mud, it would get stuck in that 1/16th of a block and not be able to go over this trap door into the gravity urn, which is happening very rarely, but enough that I was concerned about it. So I swapped all of this out for moss. I swapped this out for rooted dirt because I think it matches with the floor better. I don't know if the persistent rumor that sugarcane grows on faster on sand is still a persistent rumor, but that's not how it works. Just to reiterate once more with feeling, that's not a concern. So that's that. That's all you need to know there. I'm gonna make this building a little taller, I think, and then have some way of getting from here over to this new building that I've put in. You might be noticing from this angle that this building is just that building, but a little bit smaller. And yeah, I mean this is an actual like one-to-one recreation of the one I made in my test world, minus all of the extra detailing that I've put on that one. I'm gonna put another building here so that you can't see both of them at the same time, basically. But I think as we go forward, we are gonna see some repeats of, if not entire buildings, of certainly the styles of buildings. Now that I got a couple hammered out. So immediate plans going forward, we have gunpowder and sugarcane. I would like to have the building in the middle in addition to just being a good spawning platform, and I am going to probably expand this area so that I can have more buildings with spawners in them that are all loaded when I'm standing roughly in this area, or nearish. It's not going to be exact science, but the ability to have an XP farm running at the same time that my gunpowder farm is running would be tremendous, so that I don't have to go to the end, for example, to get XP. I can just stay here if I need to quickly repair my stuff. So Going forward, I would like to have a mob farm there. I would like that central building to also be a firework factory. So the paper and the gunpowder just get directly piped out. They go in. They make, you know, your standard flying fireworks, but also they can make your standard, your non-standard, I guess, exploding fireworks. Iron farm is... I have a design for an iron farm that I'm really not happy with because just on a philosophical level, it works great, but it upsets me. The other thing I really need, and I realize this is thing number 7 that I've said I really need, is I really need a wheat farm because I need wheat to make mud. I also need wheat just to make food. I've completely run out of pasta. I'm eating Casey's fish and chips now. He started branding his machine stuff. I gotta get some wheat so I can make pasta. And this goddamn building needs to be different. I've started. I've got this much done, but everything past here, I have this gutter and the clothesline, but that's nothing. And I think at the heart of it, thing number 17 that I need is a goddamn moss farm so that I can get bone meal so that I can automatically farm half of these things. So there's like 15 different things I gotta make. And we might just make all of them. I don't know. I might stop and explain how some of the redstone works, but these things just need to happen. Okay, I'm trying to work out where the moss farm is going to go. I've made this incredibly tall pillar, and I can no longer hear the redstone working up there. So I think that's good. However, because my resource pack turns down all of the redstone noises, because I don't want to listen to them all the time, I've had to turn off all of my resource packs. And this just doesn't look good. I gotta be honest, this doesn't look good. Why does scaffolding look bad? What did I do to scaffolding that this looks wrong now? Ugh. And listen to this. I've got my sounds turned all the way up too. It's just no good. I specifically said to watch your step. I have no water.
It's fine. As long as I just keep eating, I'm fine.
Okay, that looks like it's working. And I got it all in one chunk, which is fantastic. I forgot to check that before I started, so I'm really glad that that ended up being the case. The whole building is not in one chunk, but all this is, and that's what matters. So, it's a basic moss farm. I do not believe I invented this myself. I am fairly confident that this was a combination of ideas that I got off of the internet. All right, let's look at the basics of this thing. So the bottom that you saw here, this is just your standard hopper clock. It goes for about 13 ticks, pulses. That goes into this thing. This is a dropper. That's a dispenser. The dropper is getting fed with bone meal. It's a loop, so it's hard to find where you're supposed to start. That goes up into this observer. That powers these pistons. That's a stone generator. That's a stone generator. It's just 3 stone generators that all go into this central box. That pushes in, breaks the moss. And then that water comes out, pushes again when it turns off. It doesn't break all of the moss. It could probably be made to break all of the moss, but I don't want to do that. That's a lot of work. This thing keeps up just fine on its own. And that pretty much all goes in there and gets routed into the... routed into the composters down here. And that unloads 5 out of 7 of them are going into here, which you can see is making a backlog. I need to tweak this a little because the ideal scenario is that it doesn't create a backlog. It's that it replaces itself perfectly, but that's hard to nail down. And then the other two are just going into here, and that's where I'm getting excess bone meal. And I can stack this pretty easily. It's just a matter of copying this exact setup and moving it up. So we can now pipe this bone meal into, for example, a farm that automatically grows these plants for us.
Oh.
Because I don't know if you've seen the number of seeds we have.
That's a few.
Yeah, and these,
Do these actually do anything?
well, they're flowers. We live in Flower Town.
Well, yes, I'm just wondering.
No, not
You know, the-
you can make cyan dye with them.
These thackle bloom seeds, they produce light, don't they?
They
Oh,
don't
sorry, it's a thackle bloom. What?
they don't create light. No.
You're telling me a thackle bloom does not?
Yeah, I'm
create
also
light.
very disappointed, but the
good
fact
news
of
is-
the matter is that a thackle bloom, as I have just learned these are called, does
Yeah.
not emit light. I don't know that I'm completely happy with this. All these buildings I keep making, like all of the farm buildings, like the gunpowder farm and the paper farm and now the moss farm, are all like 11 and 13 blocks wide, and like most of my designs are not that big. I just need to stop doing that. I need to make a farm like the sugarcane farm, but a little smaller, that I can just build in a small space and just stack really high up. And I don't know what that's gonna be. I can stack the moss farm real high up, finally. Christ, I didn't want to walk over and turn the rain off, so yeah, I don't know what farm I want that to be. I can stack this, but it has to be pretty much this wide to get the most out of the bone meal. So there's not a lot I can do about that. Now, at some point in this whole process, I don't remember when exactly, DarkLlama and I sort of made an agreement that if he makes an Enderman farm, he doesn't have to decorate it. So I'm gonna do that, basically. Oh, that guy's still there. So, this interior was. You might notice that I joined Brennyn Sabar at the start of Season 2, which for me was Season 1, and then there was no Brennyn Sabar until Season 5, which for me was Season 2. Well, it was also season 4 for me. It was the Season 2 of the series. It was the 4th season that I joined full time. I was in part of Season 1. It makes perfect sense. Now we're on Season 6, which is Season 3, which is Season 1 of Foundation. It all makes sense. But the takeaway from that is that there was a Brennyn Sabar series for Season 2, and there was a Brennyn Sabar season for Season 5. And there was nothing for Season 3 and 4. Now, I've explained this a little bit in the past during the Volcano episode of Season 2, which was Season 5. Basically, I never got around to Season 3 because it was kind of a janky season for me. I wasn't sure what the hell I was really working on the entire time. But Season 4 ended quite abruptly in a way that I will not reiterate. But this was kind of going to be my style for that. I don't think we had stripped logs at that point. We might have. I think I was using oak logs at the time. But the bone block, spruce fence, green carpet, sort of, pagoda paper wall looking thing. This was going to be my base for Season 4. And then Season 4 ended and I never got to build it. So I've just sort of copied that design for the Enderman farm. Because we have a lot of bone blocks and it was something I figured I could probably do. And we're done. Not really, but the inside is usable. So let's look in here. All right. So we've got this. I guess this is a notice board now. That it keeps you from looking directly at the Enderman as you walk in, which would be a bad thing. We've got. These are still unused. I'm going to make that a better vending machine later. This is stocked with Casey's bakery food, which he's started stamping now. Cauldron, some dyes if you need to dye your stuff. Brewing stand, I guess. Koi pond. Sugarcane if you need paper and have leather to make books. I don't know. Enchanting table, etc. Lectern if you need to lore tag your stuff. Furnace if for some reason you want to cook an ender pearl. That's not a thing. And storage, I'm going to get the other llama to replace this whole column going up with like some large cherry tree or something, I think. But anyway, it's usable in here. I'd like to do a little more in this inner ring, but it's not urgent. It mostly just needs to work. The purple water was not there in my creative world, so I didn't really take that into consideration when designing this. But what can you do? Also, the purple sugarcane. That's all my fault. You look out the window. We've got the cherry leaves doing the blossom effect, which is nice. This is a gun. We'll worry about that later. Okay, I lost my train of thought, but let's see. So this is all covered in water. You might be wondering why the Endermen don't teleport out of there. Well, the answer is sometimes they do, but apparently they try very, very hard to avoid teleporting onto waterlogged blocks, but they don't avoid it outright because sometimes they will just warp out here. I don't know why. Like I can look some of these guys in the face. Well, I can't, but if I could, like I can make this guy mad at me, and he's not going to try and teleport, even though he can't reach me. But they can teleport out here, and do, but not all the time. So I don't know what the hell to think. So a couple of things about this. One, this is going to have a roof and possibly a better exterior. I don't like how this looks, and I really don't like how this looks. Two, you may notice that on the roof up here, there is an end crystal above the endermite. This is another flaw I need to work out. They can't see the endermite if they're standing right here. I don't know what's in the way, but I'm going to have to try and figure that out later. They apparently can't teleport onto double-stacked carpet, so we're using that to protect the endermite. But this end crystal, when it rains in the end... Let's see if that worked. Yep, there we go. When it rains in the end, it is a meteor shower. And when it thunderstorms in the end, those meteors will actually strike. And if you don't want that to happen, you need an end crystal to shoot it with a laser beam, basically. So that's all you need to know. It's a lightning rod for meteors. Looks pretty good. I might mess with the rotation of those later, but whatever. Because they do move in kind of a straight line right now, and I'd like it to be a little more random, but what can you do? Sometimes they hit each other. That's fun. The ender pearls are all filtered down into this, which is a condenser cell, which basically just stores, I think, like 100,000 of whatever, of one item. So it's storing ender pearls. You can put ender pearls in there. You can't put anything else in there. If you use an empty hand, you draw the item out, put the item back in. Fairly straightforward, but this will hold 100,000 ender pearls. And if we need any more storage than that, God help us. Now, if that does overflow, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to take this guy. This is a crystal sentry. This is an important part of a mechanism going forward. But its main purpose is to be, and I quote, a Terraria-style star cannon, but for ender pearls. You throw an ender pearl in, it turns it into a bullet. Fairly straightforward. It does not hurt endermen because they are immune to projectile damage, and this counts as a projectile. Ah, see, this is what I mean. Sometimes they teleport out. Is someone growing dragon fruit over here? Is this fully grown? It's not. Whatever. That's a sad farm. Okay, back to the house. We got stuff to do. I gotta figure out this shulker box situation because this is not fun. No! I want to get rid of this stupid cake! I don't know who put this here, but I don't want it in my storage room. It's in the way of my circular saw. Okay, I'm torn between whether I want to do iron next or wheat next. I feel like wheat is more urgent because mud, obviously. I need a lot of mud, like more mud than my shulker box will carry. See, I just put it back and now I gotta get back out again. Yeah, for the tower I'm putting in the center, that's gonna be probably more mud than I have right now. And I have probably 100 stacks of various blocks of mud. So why did I do that? I'm probably going to do wheat. And I'm debating how I want to do wheat. The easiest way is just with a villager, but to do that, you do need to fill the villager's inventory up with stuff that he can't plant, because otherwise he's going to pick up the wheat. So you need like 9 stacks of seeds or something. I might do what I did in the bird plate with the dispenser and just, you know, pipe bone meal into that, because I think I can make that design work. I just need a little more space, which is what I did not have when I was designing the farm. So I'm probably going to go back to bird plate. I'm going to study that design a little bit to remind myself how I did it, because it was a while ago at this point. And I'm just going to try and replicate that. Ideally, I'd like to replicate it inside of one chunk. All right, let's look in here real quick. Casey is using this for fishing, I guess. So this is part of that mechanism. So this is basically just observer, pulse, four ticks, and the light harvests the wheat. And this comparator is just a shut-off valve. Okay, it's easy. I don't know what is going on here, but I guess I am to assume that things be happening. Well, I know what to do with this. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay, what was I doing? Okay, I am going to try to improve on my earlier design a little bit. We want the observer pointing into the farmland. I did not think to bring seeds with me, which actually, yes I did. I have the seed box. Yeah, there we go. Dispenser, and dropper pointing down. That's where the seeds go. Okay, so this dispenser, I believe, has a repeater coming out of it. Now, did I actually built this backwards from how I had it originally. Do it like this. Redstone lamp. Torch here. Okay, so, and I believe that, yes. Some of my redstone in this is part of the bone meal machine that I use to feed into the wheat farm, so I'm having to sort of differentiate on the screenshots what goes where. But this is the gist of it, and then we just need a line coming out of the observer in the back, which is literally just that. So, I believe, if I'm correct, essentially what happens is this fires, the seeds get planted on their own, which pulses this observer, that pulses the bone meal, and then when the bone meal pulses, it pulses the observer again because the bone meal has updated the seeds, and then that fires one more pulse of this. If there's still any wheat left to grow, it will grow, and then pretty much a tick after that, this turns off this redstone torch, which turns off the light. Crops need light to be planted, and if they don't have any and receive a block update, which the lamp is doing, they break. There might be a way with copper bulbs to also have this run a little more efficiently, but it's fine, I think, the way it is. So, yeah, and then the thing that the other farm does not have, the other farm relies on the seeds replanting themselves, and there's a filter down here that only picks up wheat. Now this does work, but it does also lead to a massive amount of seeds building up that don't get planted, because, you know, one wheat crop generally drops 2 to 3 seeds. So it's not a perfect replenishing system, and that's what I would like to eliminate here by having this hopper turn off at the same time as the lamp. Let's see if I can work that out. So that would basically just be a matter of making this a stair so that power can transmit down it, and then putting that there. So that will lock the hopper until this goes off. And in fact, maybe I should do that. So there's a slight delay after this turns off. It picks up the seeds, And then what we're going to do after that, I think, is as soon as this comes back on, we are going to, and I probably have to do this because of quasi-connectivity nonsense, we're going to, now you know what, I'm going to try this, because if these end up getting powered, they'll get pulsed anyway. So we're just going to do this and a repeater. Let's see what happens. I think the repeater needs to be on longer, though. Let's see. So I feel like that might not be working the way I want it to. Why is that pulsing twice? Oh, I guess it does blink when this gets broken, too. So see, this actually might be where a copper bulb comes in. Because if we do one of the, let's do one of these, because they're dimmer. And that might not, because this works off of, you know, very sensitive lighting, and it's possible that this might screw something up. Let's get some bone meal. Let's just put some bone meal in here and see what happens. Okay, let's see. So, pulse grows, yep. Now, it's still not picking up all of it. Oh, why did that happen? I'm always trying to fit a copper bulb in here, and I wonder if this is where. What if I do this? Okay. Okay. That picked it up. All right, so, all right, I think I know what's happening. It moves very fast, and I'm not good at thinking very fast. So this plants, pulses, hits this. When these bone meal it pulses again, and if it needs to be bone mealed again, it is. Then those two pulses are in rapid enough succession that this only treats that as one pulse, and that turns this off and then back on again, which will turn off this bulb and unlock the hopper. And then when this pulses the first time, it turns this light off, which breaks the wheat. When the wheat breaks, it sends another pulse. These don't do anything because there's nothing to bone meal. And then that turns this off and then back on again, which relocks the hopper and resets everything back to 1. So this, I think, is the smallest you can make this machine. Now, obviously, you run into problems of there's nothing to reload the system, but I'm fairly confident that I can make that work as well. That's just a matter of getting some droppers, which I have a few. Yeah, this is the one problem, is getting the seeds back into the system but not the wheat complicates this quite a bit more. Because that means that you have to have an item filter, which is something I don't enjoy making. Not necessarily because they're hard to make, but just because they're big. At least by my standards. Like they are, you know, equivalent in height to this machine, and they need to go under the machine. So something that I like to do whenever I have to do a dropper elevator like this, because I don't like this as a circuit, I like to be able to have part of the mechanism reset the elevator. So if I do this, whenever this pulses, it will power all of these and feed whatever items are at the bottom up to the top. So I don't have to have the nonsense. The reason I really don't like these is because if you're trying to do it just like in general, you have to have like a comparator that's like, you know, powering a clock hooked up to like every 3 blocks of one of these, just to make sure nothing gets caught in the middle. And I don't like doing that. But this, because this should take, ideally, if I have wheat seeds here, This should only take one pulse. If we're lucky, make another button here. So these are here. Press this button, and now it's in the middle, right, which is what I don't want. And now it's gone into the hopper. So pulse once, it ends up in here for some reason. I don't know why it doesn't just go straight to the top. Pulse again, goes into here. So that should work. I have been distracted also on this circuit because this is not technically the next step we need. We also need, I believe, that, right? So if we have this here, working on the same principle as this, which flips every time, this should power on once. Yep, okay, so that's, yeah, that works perfectly. So that will infinitely recycle the system, and the only thing we need at that point is a way to filter out the wheat, which we can, I don't want to put an item filter down here, but I will if I have to. And then some way of getting bone meal into the system, which is also not hard because then you just pipe hoppers into here, and then you can just have a master input. The other thing I would like is, you know, a cutoff for when the bone meal runs out, but okay, so basically the machine is done. Like, I've got, the machine works the way I want it to work. It just, the only thing that's missing is the reload mechanism, which is just a standard hopper filter that I just don't like making because it's going to extend this thing like 3 blocks down in whatever direction I choose to put it in. The machine is not here permanently, which is another reason I don't want to do this. I don't want to make a hopper filter and then have to move it. But if we put it, for example, here where it's going to be backed up the most because this only pulses every couple of times, so we don't have to worry about anything slipping through the machine. If we put this here, and then we do all of this nonsense. So that's this is the whole footprint of the machine. It is very, very simple to set up. This has no practical applications in vanilla Minecraft, but whatever. And I believe then all we just have to do is, okay, well now see, that's my fault. Yeah, it's just that, and then that'll go into there. One will always get stuck in here. But as long as we've got this hooked up, I think this is it. Like, I think this is the whole machine. Yeah. Okay, so to review. To start the machine, you do have to do this. Man, that's real straightforward. Okay, so every time this gets planted, it sends a pulse, it sends a second pulse. That merges into one pulse here because they're too quick for this repeater delay to be able to tell the difference. That will turn off this lamp, which will break it, which will send the third pulse, which this will see as the second pulse, which will turn these lamps back on. This lamp will fire another seed. This lamp will turn the hopper back on. The system will get stuck for some reason. Okay. Oh, you shouldn't be there. Sorry about that. Don't you hate it when bad things happen to good people? This is an unrelated comment. That's not what happened there. Yep, okay. I think if there was a quasi-connectivity issue, I'm fairly confident this has been resolved. It could just be that sometimes happens. I don't know. But this is the revised dimensions of the machine, and I believe I can also, I might, hopefully won't regret this. I'm always nervous putting water around redstone, even if I know there's no way it's going to move. I think if I put this here, that will keep that farmland hydrated and stay within the footprint of the contraption. I've learned my lesson. You cannot put the copper grate here, because if you do, that lets light through, and then this turning off will not break the farmland. So it does need to be on the outside because this is transparent. I could put tinted glass here though, and then I could see part of the farmland. But right. So the other thing I wanted to add was a reset circuit, and I believe that this would work. Just pressing the button on its own isn't going to do anything because this is already being powered by this. But I believe if you do that, Yeah, so that'll be 15. This is getting a signal 15 from the bulb. So this will power this off because it's 15 minus 15. And then when the button goes off, it'll power it back on, and that will re-trigger the dispenser. So this is like not an essential part of the circuit, but if you want to be able to manually reset it, it's a good thing to have. Because it's the size that it is, you can fit 10 of these running at once in one chunk and just, stacked all the way to build height if you needed to, and it'll run on its own with the exception of bone meal, which you can easily keep up with with a moss farm. Okay, I figured out what the problem is. The reason it was getting out of sync is because the actual seed item that dropped when the wheat was broken was in the split second before the hopper picked it up, planting itself. And then that would trigger another seed to plant. And I just logged back into the server and chunks are still loading in. It's not running great. So when the seed itself broke, not the seed from the dispenser, but the seed that actually dropped would try and plant. And that was getting the system out of sync because that was sending an extra pulse that shouldn't be getting sent. So I think that should fix it. I just pushed a hot fix that basically like an item that is just dropped cannot plant itself for the first like 2 ticks. So that should fix it. It might mean this takes 2 ticks longer to run, but I think that should be good. And we have a stack of wheat already. Sometimes I try to press F9 to stop recording and I press F8 instead, and I should just unbind this key. I don't want to be doing this. Okay, so here is the last little bit that we need to do. We're going to do an observer on here, so that will add an extra pulse into this that will allow us to extend this upward by 1 more block. I'd like to pick those up. We are going to have a hopper line running here, and we are also going to have a hopper line going into here, and then I'd like that. Don't go in there, please. And then we're going to take this, do that, and actually, I might want that on this side, if for no other reason than just to have it there. Okay, and then we do that. And ideally, I think the way that hoppers work, this will prioritize sending it down and into the dispenser as opposed to sending it into the composter. Yeah, okay, so that will always go into the dispenser until such time that there are more seeds in here and here and here and here to the point that they stop in here and the only place they have left to go is into here, and at that point they will go into the composter and be turned into bone meal, which we then just pipe down here. We can move this fella, and obviously there's also a way we cycle this back into the system, but I don't want to do that at this time. We can just do one of those, and then all the bone meal will get pulled out. These don't even need to be hoppers. Like, you could very easily just put a chest here if you want to save yourself a hopper. Like, there you go. That'll give you a little extra room for backlog. And yeah, that'll just compost the extra seeds, put them straight into the same place as all this wheat, and then you're done. And you don't have to worry about it. And I picked up the seeds while I was working on that, which is still a problem I need to fix, because if you stand, here or here, you're going to, or sometimes here even, you're going to pick them up, which could probably be alleviated by just taking some of these and putting them there. Now, strictly speaking, you wouldn't want to put this, like, specifically the way that I have it, because you'd probably want hoppers going into the top of this, but they'll just keep people from standing on it. A hopper would do the exact same thing. Just don't stand there. Should really be the moral. And then we just hit this reset button, dispense a new seed, start the system over. And we're done! It's wheat! It's making wheat forever! And I never have to worry about it. And now I can move on to something that isn't a plant. Oh no. Someone got hit by lightning. Who's missing? Oh, Bogart. That one hurts. Bogart was the original sniffer from like episode 14 or 15 or whatever. He's sort of the founding father of this entire sniffer paddock. That's a shame.